scenario. Win, 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 yeah, we on a roll. Yeah, 2, 4, 6, we like 10 and 0. I should probably tell us.
What's up, Film Jammers? We are in full-on quarantine mode here at Film Jams. I brought a little of my gear home, and I'm filming solo from the house right now. Like a lot of you, I'm sure, I've had a little bit of extra time on my hands, so I've been breaking out some of the gear that I don't get to use as often. This week, I found my old trusty Lensbaby Spark, which is a really neat lens that I bought for a film a while back, and I used it in a flashback sequence, and I really haven't used it since then. So I took it out this week, and I shot a few photos and some videos with it. People have been asking me how they can stay creative while you're quarantining. They've been saying things like,
"Hey, question, how can I stay creative while I'm quarantining?"
Things like that. After shooting with it, I found this lens to be really fun actually, and it's pretty inexpensive, just $100, and you can get some really unique shots with it. So if you're looking to add a little creative flair to your photography or filmmaking, come check out the Lensbaby Spark with us. Got some videos and photos coming up. Ooh. Film. So if you haven't used a Lensbaby, they're basically special effects lenses. Some of them are designed to create prism effects, others soft focus effects or glowing effects, etc. One of the most unique lenses that they offer is the Lensbaby Spark. What's really interesting about this lens is you have to physically pull the lens element towards you to focus it. So it's almost like a little miniature bellows on the front of the camera. And pulling it on just one side, for example, will create a tilt shift style effect where one side of the image is in focus and the other's not. If you're looking for really pristine, crystal clear portrait shots or run and gun style filming, this lens is probably not for you. The Lensbaby definitely takes some time to get used to, and it's fully manual. So be prepared to spend time composing and getting your focus right. Despite the lens being a fixed f5.6, you can still achieve a very shallow focus effect. You can really create some interesting portraits with it, and something that might look a bit ordinary with the standard lens takes on a whole new life with the Lensbaby.
It's a whole new perspective.
I think it's also great for video as well as photography. I can see it working really well for a music video or an abstract dream sequence, or the Lensbaby isn't your typical manual focus lens. To focus the Spark lens, you'll use one hand to pull the spring mechanism towards you and holding it in place, and then you use your other hand to press the shutter. So it can definitely feel a bit awkward at first. But if you have the extra time on your hands, like during a quarantine, it can actually be pretty fun to experiment with. It's tougher than I thought it would be to nail focus every time. Only about a quarter of my shots were in focus. But when you really hit the focus, it's a pretty magical feeling. It's kind of like, oh. And since you need to hold the spring mechanism in place to focus manually, you'll likely never get the same shot twice with this lens, which is pretty cool. Look, Ma, I'm creating beautiful art. Oh. One thing to keep in mind with the Lensbaby Spark is it is a fixed aperture lens at f5.6, so you will need a bit of light when filming with it. If you want to stop down the lens, you can actually add these circular aperture rings that are included with the kit, and each of these will slow down the lens one stop. The Lensbaby Spark is also a 50mm fixed focal length lens, so keep that in mind too. The Lensbaby does offer other lenses like a 35mm and an 85mm lens as well. The minimum focusing distance on the Lensbaby Spark is 13 inches, so you can actually get pretty close to your subject. And it focuses to infinity on the maximum focus side. Lensbaby. Probably my favorite thing about the Lensbaby Spark is these creative aperture filters that you can add in front of the lens. They include about 10 of them in the kit, and the designs range from swirl, to star, to heart, etc. Using these filters can completely change the look of your photo. Here I'm using the heart filter, and you can see all of the bokeh in the background are little tiny hearts. In these photos, I used the swirl filter. And you can see the bokeh is little tiny swirls. These photos, I used one of the star filter variations. If you like experimenting and you like to create unusual photos, these filters combined with the Lensbaby Spark are a totally great combination. Hey baby, is that a Lensbaby in your pocket or just a baby lens? It took me a minute to actually figure out how to insert and remove these filters from the lens, so I'm going to quickly show you how to do that. The filters actually attach to the inside of the lens with magnets. It's a pretty interesting way of attaching filters. And to pull them out of the inside of the lens, you use this little included magnet tool. I've been carrying around the extra filters in my pocket so I can swap them out easily when I'm shooting. And they also serve as pretty sweet good luck charms. Not really having much luck lately though. Here's a couple more photos using these filters. Now, one thing I wanted to do was to show the effect of the Lensbaby compared to a standard lens. So I shot some photos with a 50mm Zeiss 1.4 ZE lens, and then I shot a very similar photo with the Lensbaby Spark, which is also a 50mm. And you can see side by side what those look like here. What's interesting is that the Lensbaby is an f5.6 lens and the Zeiss is an f1.4 lens. It's much more shallow, but you're still able to get a really shallow depth effect with the Lensbaby, maybe even more so than the Zeiss wide open. So I found it pretty interesting to see the difference between those two 50mm focal length lenses. Which one do you prefer? Let us know down in the comments. So the Lensbaby Spark that I have is a bit older and tougher to find online, but you can catch them on eBay for about $40 to $50. And if you want to check out their new model, the Lensbaby Soul, that one is $199, and I'll put links below for you guys to check those out. The Lensbabies come in a variety of different mounts. You've got Canon EF, Nikon Z, Sony E mount, so you should be able to use them on most modern cameras for filmmaking and photography.
Lensbaby, Lensbaby.
All right, well, I had a ton of fun filming and photographing with this little lens the last few days, and I hope you enjoyed checking out the Lensbaby Spark with us. I think it's a perfect lens to experiment with when you have a little bit of extra time, like right now. And for less than $100 for the Spark or less than $200 for the Lensbaby Soul, these lenses can give you a really unique effect that you can achieve practically in camera without using a bunch of filters in post. And for me anyway, there's just something about practical effects that always seems more organic and realistic to me anyway. So again, we've got links below to the lenses if you want to check them out. I hope you stay safe out there. I'm Christian with Film Jams, and we have new videos on our channel every Tuesday and Friday. So hey, up here. Up here, there's no pants in a pandemic, okay?
do recognize the pain. Hits you awfully bad again.
Did you hear Madonna's quarantining with her pet fish? Oh.
Rollin.